Going.
I'd like to call to order the Smyrna Planning Commission for December 2019. And at this time, would ask everyone to stand for our prayer and pledge.
Father, we come to you this evening with grateful hearts. Lord, we just thank you for the Thanksgiving season that we just came through. And Lord, as we venture into the Christmas holiday season, we pray that we just always remember the reason for the season and keep you in front of us and always follow your guidance. Father, we ask for your guidance tonight in this meeting, that we deliberate the city's business and that we do so appropriately. Lord, we continue to pray for our employees, our police and fire protectors, everybody that serves the town here in whatever role and capacity it is. We appreciate them. We pray your blessings over them through this holiday season. Go with us now as we do our business. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3, citizens' comments. None at this time.
That's correct.
Moving on to item number 4, approval of the minutes. Do we have any corrections or additions to the minutes as they were handed out?
Move to approve the minutes.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 5, new business, annexation and zoning. Item number 1, Jerry Butler and Andrews subdivision. Staff comments.
Yes, this is a annexation request and zoning request for a couple of PRD as well as C2 zoning on a portion of the property. The total acreage is about 91.33 acres. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1 and R3 in Smyrna and RM in Rutherford County. The land use plan would support commercial development here. The property is on Rocky Fork Road, just south of the interstate, I-24. The proposed PRD is for 250 single-family lots on 79.92 acres, and then 11.41 acres that would be zone C2. This isn't an area that's currently served by Consolidated Utility District, and that's what the plan of services reflects. However, there is discussion between the town and Consolidated Utility District that this would become a part of the town's service area for water. So obviously that we would, if that does get approved by council, that would change the plan of services for this property. We did have some other comments. We did request that they submit a traffic study and for the subdivision and account for the existing approved project, which is the Green Tree project adjoining it, and include Highwood and Blair Road as part of the Rock Springs Road part of that. They've agreed to do that. It makes sense to wait on that. This is something that if approved, they're not looking at developing in the next immediate future. This is more of a longer term project, and that they would submit that when they come back for a plat, and which would be more in keeping with when the traffic counts and all that would be more current and all that. So I think we're okay with that. This next comment was regarding the front setbacks at 35 feet. That was kind of our thoughts, and the intent of the PUD was that it would be 35 feet. They have, and so they have in their wording, it says 35 feet for the house facing the street. Again, 35 feet is what we had looked at for anything on the front setback, so that the garage if they use that, and they are using the option of having the 35-foot setback to have room for the 4 parking spaces in the driveway. I think their thought and their intention might be that they would like to be able to have a smaller setback on the side of a corner lot. And I guess that might work okay as long as everybody's clear that the garage, whatever side that garage faces, it's gotta be 35 feet. So that's my main concern. That's not really spelled out real clearly in the PUD, so I think they need to clear that part of it up. The major thoroughfare plan does show Green Tree Drive connecting directly to Rocky Fork Road. And it also has a future principal arterial coming off the future interchange crossing the front of the property. They do show Green Tree Drive being extended through the property, not coming through this property directly to Rocky Fork Road. They actually show it coming, connecting to the property to the south with the idea, their thoughts that in the future, when that develops to the south, that there would be a connection to Rocky Fork Road there. It does move it further away from the future interchange, so it might work better there. And they did add the frontage road in the commercial area to connect to the two adjoining properties to the north there as well. That is something that's also shown in the thoroughfare plan. We did recommend, if this property is annexed, that the Eden Springs Gateway Overlay District be extended as part of the annexation as well. We did ask them to show, they are showing an HOA maintenance of all the common areas, but we did ask them to show that that would be by a third party. Number 10 is really kind of an informational item. The sewer will have to come from the Olive Branch gravity sewer line. It can't be extended through Green Tree. That's part of the reason there will be some delay in any development of this project, since that is that sewer is currently not there, and we are in the process of doing that project, but it's going to be some time before it's completed. Comments 11 and 12 and 13 are all coming from CUD. Again, if that changes, those will not be applicable anymore. But currently there is not adequate pressure here for fire flow on CUD system. So we did have the map. The map shows, we do have the additional map that had the plan overlaid in it as well. It is the PRD portion of the request. We do have the booklet of information with regards to the house minimums and all that. It's very similar to what was reviewed as part of the Bankside development off Morton Lane. And
Okay, questions or
I think that's
comments?
about it.
Kevin, you talked about, and it's, comment number 2, commercial land use plan would support commercial development in this area. And we know that this is an arterial with hopes that we eventually connect through the Rutherford County, Williamson County, into Nolensville, and eventually to McEwen. And I know that we're working on that currently.
Yes.
Another part of that is an interchange here at 24. Do we have an idea at this point what type of interchange we would most likely go with? And do we have enough commercial land set aside that would accommodate the interchange right-of-ways and then commercial development as well?
We don't know exactly, because there's not been a decision made. The thinking is that it would be we would go look at a diverging diamond, if that would be something that TDOT and Federal Highway would approve and go with. That does take somewhat less right-of-way than the conventional cloverleaf. It's more than like you have at the diamond at Hannibal Road exit, though. So I don't know exactly how much land that would take. We did several years ago look at assuming a Sam Ridley-sized interchange, just overlay that at the existing bridge, which again, it might change one way or the other too. The exact location might move a little bit, but, and it would, that plan took up a fairly significant portion of this property as well as the two adjoining properties to the north, and then of course on all four corners. Again, that was a cloverleaf, Sam Ridley sized interchange, so it probably would be less than that with the diverging diamond.
Wouldn't Federal Highway make that decision?
Well, there were a lot that would go into that.
TDOT.
We're working with TDOT, Federal Highway Administration. A lot of it will be, they'll model the future traffic that would use that interchange, and that it would want to be adequately sized to handle that traffic so that you're not going in and rebuilding it 10 years or 15 years in.
Well, I think that's why I'm just kind of tagging on Tim's question, because I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Right.
I don't want to see us doing planning for a diverging diamond and then that not be what goes in there.
Right, and again, at this point, we really don't know for sure because, but in talks with TDOT, they're thinking, at least at this time, is the diverging diamond would be what we would be looking at.
By the time this comes to fruition, though, that's really subject to change.
It certainly could change, sure.
So with these unknowns, do you feel comfortable as a planner that we have enough commercial set aside with what's being proposed here?
Well, I think if you think about it as an interchange, and assuming an interchange is there, you would hope to see certainly more commercial on all four segments. And you would typically see, probably not have single family this close to an interchange. You would have more commercial, and you might even have, behind that commercial, you might have some either office or multifamily type stuff. And then getting back to the single family, the closer you get back to the green tree, whether you have that existing single family, you would probably want some single family there, certainly. So, I mean, if you look at it as, assuming an interchange is here, it's probably not what you would want to see. I mean, you would want to see more commercial with some other uses. Of course, that interchange isn't there today, but if you are planning for an interchange and you want to plan for that, we probably would look at more commercial in that. And the land use plan, the recommendation is commercial, and that is the adopted plan. We are we're planning on trying to get a public meeting in January, actually, for an update to our comp plan. So you're looking at early next year having an updated comprehensive plan, which would have that land use plan element to it. That actually has changed some things, and instead of just being just commercial, it actually has a gateway land use policy, which is more of a mixed use commercial and other offices and other type uses as well, not just commercial. Probably not a single family so much here. Again, except for around that area where you have the abutments of Green Tree, which is, about to be recorded or what everybody get started in that section, so, that last section. As you said, we are working also on it's in the very beginning stages, we are working on making a better connection between this exit and this future exit and McEwen and Franklin. And we're working very well and very closely together with how many jurisdictions? Rutherford County, Williamson County, and then Franklin, Brentwood, and Knowlesville and us. So 6 different jurisdictions are working on that together as far as getting a route that works for everyone through each various jurisdiction that we can then take to NPO and TDOT and start working on an actual road connection through the process, getting it funded and all that.
But as I recall, the different entities, governmental entities, are all very positive and all want to see
All
this.
very positive, yeah.
Want to see this happen.
Absolutely.
What's your time frame on that as far as beginning at least the concept part.
Well, by the end of this month, I'm submitting everything to the MPO to get it included into the next long-range plan, their long-range plan, which is getting it eligible for federal funding. That won't be approved. It's about a year or so process before all that gets approved. So, I mean, we're still some time out there. We can also start working with TDOT and some others. There may be some other avenues for funding as well. That's just one option for funding. Versus, I mean, we can obviously breaking up, getting 6 jurisdictions, and the piece in Franklin is actually pretty much already funded or is built and or funded. And then the piece that's coming through Brentwood they've got some right-of-way set aside already. So, I mean, we've got a pretty well, coming from the west, it's in pretty good, it's already begun.
That somewhat ties into, Rocky Fork where it runs into Nolensville and McEwen and straight through there. Is that generally what we're?
Generally, it's
looking at?
kind of coming a little bit further south of Nolensville than that, as far as the downtown area of Nolensville. They kind of wanted us to kind of avoid some of the downtown area. But, yes, it's coming through there and then swinging back up to hit McEwen, near Wilson Pike, I believe, or, again, the exact route is still to be determined, but we have a pretty good idea.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We talked about a swap with CUD, timeframe on that.
I believe that's on the council agenda next Tuesday night, so.
Okay. And as far as sewer, have we completed the engineering phase?
Yeah, Mike can
And what would
address
be
that better than I can.
What type of timeline would we look at that it would actually be available here?
So the engineering is all but done. They're in staking and right-of-way, easement acquisition now. I think all the staking pretty much is done. Now we're fixing to start getting easements. So when we bid this out for construction, we'll bid it in a way that we're breaking the Olive Branch sewer line up into 3 phases. We'll either look to hire a contractor that is large enough to work on all 3 phases at the same time, or hire 3 different contractors. There's difficulties with that, but that shortens the time frame to completion to probably a year construction, maybe a little more if we do it that way. If we don't do it that way, you're looking at 2 years on construction.
That decision hadn't been made though at this time. Those are just options that you're looking at and considering.
We're gonna bid it that way and then see what kind of response we get from, excuse me, contractors, and then we'll be able to determine, looking forward, we do want to try to do it all 3 phases at the same time, but we'll have to see that the bids will determine, how we go with that, so.
But of course, that's after the easements have been acquired.
Correct.
So how long a process do you see that being?
What do you think, Jeff?
We've already begun the process, probably maybe 6 months.
Well, I thought you'd have it done next week. Well,
There's a holiday, so.
Just one other, the parcel of land that's above the orange, is that already zone C2? Or is that,
No, we have there is a parcel that has been, that's the next item on your agenda, is this
that one?
is this triangular piece here?
Yeah.
That has been requested to be annexed in Zone C2.
Okay.
Also, the parcel in the middle has not been requested at this time.
I'm sorry, which one?
The one in the middle, there's a parcel right here.
Okay.
That one has not been requested.
Well, I noticed there was one that was triangular. I couldn't figure out if that was the whole thing
Yeah.
or not. I guess from my perspective, and a council's perspective, or my perspective from the council, is that I would think that the commercial opportunity is what we would want to seek here, because when you're looking at it from an income source for the town, I'd much rather see sales taxes and then look at the property taxes that we would pull from a commercial building. So I think there's opportunity there. I do think this is something we need to annex, and I'm all for annexation of this. I'm just not sure with everything and all the unknowns right now that I feel comfortable that this needs to be the end product that we're seeing here. And again, just based upon the major thoroughfare plan and our land use plan, I'm just not comfortable at this point.
Right now, the residential extends through the existing R3 that's on your map up there,
R3, and then you have the piece just south of that that's zoned R1.
but that's not developed, R1.
R1 is not developed, no.
What is developed is only through the R3.
R3. And that last phase is not, it kind of doesn't show up as developed. I mean, I don't think it's been recorded yet, if they're ready to record it, or if it's, I mean, it's about to be developed.
The back of it where it says R3?
Yes.
Where,
Yes.
we'll finish that green tree.
That'll basically, that's the last section of what we have, at least at this point, in Green Tree that we've seen.
On the commercial property, Kevin, of the parcel down there, what's the acreage there? Just for the commercial property?
It's about 11 acres,
Okay. and
a
then
little
the
over
one-
11.
The one above it is how much?
Well, the one that's been requested is about 4,
Okay.
and then this one's about 2.5 or something, I think. I can't remember exactly on this piece, and then this one's about almost 4.
Okay.
Back to our land use plan as it exists today, this entire area essentially would be,
Commercial. Which is maybe too much, but that is what we have on the plan.
The majority of that was utilized in the land use plan. There could be the potential of some mixed-use opportunities in here.
Sure.
With the largest part of it, I would again think being commercial.
Right.
questions? Other questions?
From a timing perspective, not even knowing the water situation yet, say that gets worked out, how long is it before service is at 1,000 gallons per minute?
I think that's,
So when we do the swap with CUD, we can already meet 1,000 gallons a minute at 20 pounds. If commercial is developed, whoever the developer is will have to bring a 12-inch under 24 to get to the commercial fire flow. We can meet 1,000 gallons now.
but you would have to bring it from Green Tree side.
Correct.
Right, yeah, so they would have to bring it, which on their phasing plan, they were looking at starting on the south side and working back north, but at least from a water, they would have to bring the water from Green Tree at the
Correct.
back. So,
So we got the water in the works. We've got the roads in the works. We've got the sewer in the works. But are not a real good time frame or on any and all of it. Maybe the water is,
Water, I think, is pretty well set, and then sewer, I mean, you're looking at
it's
a
gonna happen.
year and a half
when
to
it's
2.5 or something like that.
Is it
but-
fair to say that one of the motivations for the city in doing this massive sewer project on this side of the interstate is for the development of this being an interchange with commercial services?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Please give your name and address.
Enoch Gerald with Huddleston Stillage in Murfreesboro. The Butler clan with me here tonight as well. Miss Andrews is getting elderly, wants to sell the property. Mr. Butler wants to buy it. He understands it's a couple of years out. for sewer availability, but he has an opportunity to buy it today. You know, if you do a diverging Diamond County interchange, it would take a little bit of the commercial, an acre or two. If you did big cloverleaf, it would take a little more. That's the reason we set the residential back. And, you know, we met with staff and just was trying to figure out how much commercial, how much residential, you know, what could we do? We've left some open space between the residential and the commercial in case that commercial area needed to get bigger, because we have more open space, about 2.5 acres of open space provided that's required. So we were trying to accommodate that. You know, the other comments Kevin talked about with the garages and the setbacks are pretty easy to work out. You know, Green Tree Drive, we've shown cutting to the Lee property to the south. The Lee family owns to the south and across Rocky Fork. And I understand someone has that property optioned as well. I think they've met with the city. If they do an interchange here, it probably does move to the south. You look at the geometry of Rocky Fork Road, the way it curves, they would probably build the interchange to the south. We don't know that, but probably would. But Mr. Butler has an opportunity to buy it, would like to, but he just really would want to submit to the planning commission. We met with staff and just to see, he's a residential developer, not really a commercial. He owns commercial property on the other side of the interstate in front of Sundale and Valley Green, probably 10 acres or so. He has commercial today, you know, on the other side that he'll develop or sell someday probably to someone, and that's what he would probably do with this commercial, is end up selling to somebody someday. But he's really open to, you know, is there a amount of commercial, or is it all commercial, or, you know, I guess that's the reason we're here tonight, is to get some feedback. If this is not the plan, what is, you know, what is our best plan moving forward? Because the property is for sale now, you know, and he either got to make a decision to buy it in the next few months or move on somewhere else, really, quite frankly. So that's the reason we've gone ahead and submitted, and really would appreciate your input as far as, you know, how much commercial you think Mike need and how much residential could he develop here. This property does own, it's not part of this request, but there is another 8 acres across the interstate that's part of this parcel. That's already in the city, zoned R1, I think, Kevin. So he'd be buying about 100 acres total, but really looking at developing single family. So that's really, our comments is just he has an opportunity to buy it, and would like some feedback if there's a, maybe a different idea of how to do some more commercial, or maybe we moved 500 feet off of where Rocky Fork would extend the right of way today as a commercial piece, is sort of what we've done. You know, maybe it needs to be a little further than that. I don't know the answer, but I guess an interchange here is 10, 15, I don't know how many years away, but someday, hopefully. But I guess that's really all of my comments is he'd like some feedback of just what would be appropriate for commercial and residential for this parcel. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I think what you stated is where we are, is trying to figure out what we think is appropriate. Especially, we haven't seen, as a planning commission, the road project that you're looking to be proposed, which would help us with our decisions. We know that the land use plan is being updated, and we should have that
Pretty soon after the first of the year.
pretty soon after the first of the year. And our big concern is making a decision now that doesn't fit with any of that that's being proposed. So our difficulty is, do we have enough information to make, even if we're capable of making an intelligent decision at this point in time?
And I don't disagree with that. Kevin, as far as an interchange design, planning reports, I mean, that's years away, really. I mean,
what we're hoping with this, if we can get the road, the connection to McEwen, part of that is obviously to help move traffic from Smyrna to Franklin, Brentwood area, but it also helps us in our argument to the Federal Highway Administration that it is that interchange just doesn't serve Smyrna, because that was why it was denied the first time. It doesn't serve the region, it only serves Smyrna. Well, obviously, if it connects to major county, major and both quickly growing counties, and there's so much connection between the two counties from an economic perspective and all of that with Nissan and others, that it makes that argument better for us. And so once we have that, we can go back to Federal Highway and go, and TDOT has basically said, has been supportive the whole time. But going back to Federal Highway Administration and hopefully getting a positive answer. From a timing standpoint, yeah, you're probably 10 years away, I think. I mean, I think you're probably, because even once you start, it takes 4 or 5 years to get it built. Because once you get it approved, I mean, because you gotta you gotta fund it, you gotta buy right away, you gotta do all the environmental studies, you gotta do, I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of work that goes into even after you get federal highway approval. So, it's still several years away, certainly.
and we realize that. I mean, we've talked about that interchange and that extension 20 years ago when I worked at the city. I mean, it was on our plans back in the day. I remember all of the discussions, but I guess from Mr. Butler's standpoint, and we don't mind deferring or withdrawing tonight. I mean, we're not trying to make you force a decision, but we just want to get the discussion out there, because he has an opportunity to buy the property. His option will go away. I'm not exactly sure when that is, but a couple of months, his option goes away. And he's not, we don't mind, and maybe that's another meeting. I'm not sure how to proceed with this.
Well, I mean,
Just trying to sort of figure out his opportunity what his options are, really.
if you're asking me to draw a line on that map tonight, I don't know where I would draw it,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
And I'm not asking for
Without
that.
seeing the information that I have, and I want to be fair to you guys.
Yeah.
But I also want to be fair to the town, because, you talk about 10 or 20 years, one of the things that I continually hear is Sam Ridley was originally proposed to go to, Cool Springs area.
It was.
And then all of a sudden subdivisions and residential popped up, and that went away.
Right.
And I think this
remember
is
that.
such a great opportunity for the town to get this thing right, that I want to make sure we get it right. And if there's a time period that we wait after we get the initial design right, I'm comfortable with that as we work through the process. But I do feel that we do have a plan going forward. I feel like we've got the municipalities that are involved in this thing for the first time all on board, and that we have TDOT on board, and I think we're heading in the right direction. And again, I want to be fair to you guys too, because I like seeing commercial growth. I like residential growth. I think it's great for us, but I also want to get it right.
Well, there again, I think the Sam Ridley is a perfect example. You probably worked on that. So.
Oh, I did. I mean, I've
And-
been through all those meetings years ago. I mean, I know all about
And the
it.
one thing that happened was a residential subdivision can kill the whole thing.
And they were basically
and
Laverne,
we-
not Smyrna, but they did.
Well, you said that, I didn't.
And
But we know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a fear and concern on this, and the fact that we do have a working relationship established with the different governmental entities, and any one of that group could go in and kill the whole deal early on, and we have a real fear of doing that.
Yeah.
I think that the answer is, if we're going to err on the side of what it needs to be, we're probably gonna want to err with more commercial than what we end up needing, rather than more single-family than what we end up needing, because it's easier to go one way than the other.
And it's, you know, if you look to the north, I guess I'll call it on the interstate, that back up in behind Green Tree is gonna be residential probably, right? I mean, it can't all be commercial, I wouldn't think, just the way I guess it could be, but not likely. So maybe there is some more commercial around the interchange, around closer to Rocky Fork, we just don't know. And, you know, maybe a couple of months is not enough time to figure that out, I don't know, but.
I think we know more about it in a month or two than what we know now, is what I'm hearing with the schedule that Kevin
Well,
says.
I mean, yeah, certainly with our own land use plan and all that, we'll have more information. The road, as far as from 24 to 65, I mean, we're submitting everything, we're trying to get it on the long-range plan with the MPO and all that. Trying to get it on all those individual entities' thoroughfare plan. You know, that's reserving a route, so hopefully we don't get those subdivisions in the middle of it, or if the subdivisions happen, the right-of-way is reserved. That's why there is the right-of-way. Like I said, in Brentwood, there's some right-of-way reserved, because some development happened, and that they reserved the right-of-way. So, I mean, that's a long-term project too, though. I mean, that's not.
Well, we know
that's
that
an
it gets
expensive.
pieced together,
Right.
and as something develops, you do try to acquire right-of-ways at that point in
Right.
time.
And I'll talk a little bit about, if I may, about, you know, we extended Green Tree to hit the Lee property to the south, because you've got Olive Branch that'll ultimately, is shown on the major thoroughfare plan to cross Rocky Fork. So we assume that intersection with Olive Branch, Green Tree, and Rocky Fork should be as far from the interchange as possible. We do have an access road to Rocky Fork, because that would be the only way he could get into the property today. And that would be sort of a residential collector today, but would probably be a commercial collector in the future. So we were trying to think about that whole interchange and how that could work out. But we have a couple of months. I mean, we don't mind deferring, withdrawing whatever is appropriate tonight to have some more time for study to try to get it right.
I really think that's where we are.
And we're not opposed to that. We
You know,
get in front
I
of
don't-
you and,
My personal thought, I don't know what the right answer is, but I don't think it's 11 as far as the commercial acreage.
okay.
But I do not know what that is, and why do I think that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love to have some more information before we make a decision.
I guess can we request deferral till 30 days until maybe we have some more
See
time?
where we are then.
See where we are then. I mean, we'd rather do that than,
And
we
I'll
wanna
be
get it right,
perfect-
too.
I'll be perfectly honest with you, our next meeting is
January 2nd.
January 2nd. I would be surprised if we have very much information by then, but we appreciate, but we'd be
do we
glad
just
to talk
withdraw? I
about
don't
it.
know what's appropriate.
You could certainly withdraw and resubmit, maybe come back for the February meeting or something like that. Maybe that would.
I guess the review fees aren't that high, right? So we'd have to resubmit that. We could do that. We could just withdraw and come back to February if staff can sort of keep us updated of where,
Sure.
you know, what's, you know, transpired and what might be more appropriate, you know, from a city
Sometimes
standpoint.
between now and our February meeting, because like I say, there's a very brief time between our next meeting. Can y'all give us some kind of updates on where we are on all these projects that we just talked about? The sewer, the roads, the water will probably be taken care of, and the land use plan.
Sure.
Thanks, thank you
My
very much.
perspective, just on the feedback, the way it sits here today, I'd be reluctant to feel comfortable about it too. We just have a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of things we don't know. And so you wanted some feedback, and that's just my piece of that.
Okay.
I want to make sure we get this right.
We do too.
We've got to get this right.
And we understand, we do too.
Yeah.
We don't want it to get torn up again.
Yeah.
Something's definitely gonna happen here. I mean, you look at Sam Ridley as a little bit of a blueprint, and even paralleling the interstate, there's, an access road, is it Highwood? Is that the name of it? Where you, hotels, restaurants, some retail, some auto
Cracker
body.
Barrel and all
Yeah.
that is now.
And hopefully develop quicker than Sam Bradley. Sam Bradley opened in 78. Took it a long time for it to take off.
We had about 10,000 people there.
It took a hospital and liquor by the drop. Thank y'all for your understanding. So officially withdrawn. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, Camden Properties LLC, annexation zoning C2, staff comments.
Yeah, this is a annexation request and C2 zoning request. It's about 3.87 acres. Surrounding zoning is pretty much, you have the requested annexation that was just withdrawn on one side, and then you have Rutherford County, RM. There is R1 on the other side of the interstate. If this is approved, the Gateway Overlay District would be added to this tract as well as the C2 zoning. Again, as we just discussed, land use plan would support commercial development here. This annexation is actually non-contiguous without the Andrews property being annexed. There's really no feasible way to make it contiguous that makes any sense. There's no road frontage to this property. To make it contiguous, you'd have to annex down the I-24 right-of-way to get to it. A non-contiguous annexation, I would recommend against as well, just on principle primarily, and also just because we have to work with the county on road maintenance and emergency response and having an agreement and all that. We did recommend against annexation of this tract unless you annex the Andrews tract for that reason. I
That
think
was my first question.
so. Obviously, you're not annexing the Andrews tract at this time, so it wouldn't make sense to us to annex this tract until we annex that piece.
All right, do I have a motion that we do not recommend annexation and zoning then?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, the motion is that we do not recommend this annexation and rezoning. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. New business sketch plat, Oakhurst subdivision. Staff comments.
Yeah, this is a sketch plat for Oakhurst subdivision, sections 1 and 2. Property is zoned R3. It's 17.35 acres, and it's 45 lots are proposed. We had several standard comments, the first 7 there. We would want to keep those. We did have some staff comments as well. This property does have some pretty steep topography, and so we do just want to kind of put them on notice that we have to look at this pretty closely with regards to fire truck apparatus with some of the steep inclines. It's not as bad as the northern. This is the southern southwestern corner of the piece of property that you looked at a couple months ago on the Rock Springs Road side. It's not as steep as that portion of the property, but it does still have some steep topography. We want to, again, it's just want to work through that once we see construction plans. We did recommend a sketch plat be done for the entire parcel. This is similar to what we had recommended when the piece on the northern side came up. It is my understanding from the developer they are not looking to do that. Just see that the section you looked at last month or so ago, but they were looking to do this piece of it at this time. They did show a little bit more detail on it this time than they did before. But still, it doesn't meet what we would look at as a true sketch plat. So, again, they have indicated they're not looking at doing anything more than these lots here. We did recommend, when this property was annexed a few years ago, we were concerned about creating a donut hole surrounding an area of the county with the city. With some of the changes in some of the annexation laws and all, that's not as much of a concern. So, what we did though is we left 10 feet off, and did not annex the 10-foot strip, so that in reality, we didn't surround, the rest of the property. We are recommending that we consider that, and they have submitted an application, and that will be on your agenda in January for the annexation of that area. So that one really has been addressed. Off-site water main lines, there is a collector road shown on the drawing that they have for the rest of the property. And that one, they do show that now on that drawing, that it would run with that future collector road. We did recommend a traffic study be done before the next phase, but this number of lots is not necessary. If they do it in another phase, that we would look at doing a traffic study. They did have some on their front setbacks. This is R3 zoning and does require 35-foot front setbacks. On their corner lot detail, they had a 25-foot setback in addition to a 35, so they do need to correct that. And we did have a concern about lots 15 through 18 where there's a temporary cul-de-sac. If the property, because of they're showing setbacks basically right up to the road, instead of pushing them back 35 feet. So that was our comment number 7. And I guess that's all I've got.
The part that we looked at last time is what, kind of on the north side of the easement.
Yes, sir. If you look at page 2, it kind of shows more of the property. It is we would come from Rock Springs Road, and they would have a bridge across the creek. It would be on the north side of the gas easement.
Is the topography on this part a little bit easier to work with?
It is somewhat easier. It's still pretty steep, but it is better than that part of the property, yes. There's also no floodplain that they have to worry about, which they did on that other part, along the creek there.
So service to this back part has to come from Rock Springs?
Right. 'Cause this is in our service area, and so they'll have to run the water and sewer from Rock Springs.
Sketch plat only, not preliminary or anything?
Right, they'll have to come back. with preliminary plat, construction plans, and a final plat, yes.
Other questions or comments?
Kevin, are you comfortable approving this with staff comments?
Yes, I think as long as we address those comments, we'll be fine, yeah.
Okay. No other concerns?
Right. I mean, I would like to, I guess, big picture, I think it would be good if we had future development of this track, so we could bring some traffic to Rock Springs Road as another connection for all of the whole Woodmont, Woodcrest, Buckingham, all those areas. But obviously, we can't force a man to develop his property, so I mean, I
But
think,
essentially, they're gonna have to run the services from Rock Springs Road
right.
to this part, which is the biggest part of their expense, I would think, isn't it?
Well, the road, I mean, the main concern that it was because it was gonna be pretty expensive to build the roads and do the grading and all on some of that steep topography, was what I was told anyway, was their primary concern
Yeah.
on that northern piece.
There were a lot of lines on the other part. But my point is, they're gonna have to bring the services in where the road existing, where they're showing the road,
Right,
to get to this part here,
right.
which would be another opening off of Montgomery rather than everything coming to one spot, correct?
Well,
As long as the road is done.
but they're not building the road. They're just putting the water and sewer. They're gonna be accessed from, Kew Garden Lane, which is a part of the Buckingham Hills development. And then this Van Road, I believe, is in Woodcrest, I believe. So there's two connections there that eventually all go back to, again, back through the, Montgomery Way and those various other streets in there. Those, almost 4 or 5 different developments there.
Other questions or comments? Here, what's the wishes of the commission? Have a motion.
I'll move to approve with all staff comments.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business C, preliminary plats, Bankside subdivision, staff comments.
This is Bankside, Section 7. This is the preliminary plat. This is the first plat we've seen from the recently approved Bankside PRD. This is 38.88 acres, 73 lots. We had kind of 6 standard comments there. We would need to keep those. And under staff comments, we had several comments there. Several of them were from Consolidated Utility District, because they are the water service provider, so we would want to keep those, which is basically 6 through 10, because they would need to sign off that they've been addressed or not. The other comments, again, the PRD, we, again, look at the front setbacks being 35 feet. They are, again, on this, similar to what we talked about with the annexation and zoning request earlier. They are showing some corner lots with a 20-foot setback on one side, but 35 on the other. The PRD was approved basically with it being 35 feet, but then there is a parentheses that says house facing the street, with a rear of 20 and a side of 7.5. You know, they have requested to show these at 20 feet on one side of a corner lot. Again, my main concern is that there's 35 feet whatever side the garage faces. That's my main concern.
20 foot on the side with the garage on the side.
If most of the houses they're doing front facing garages, but on a corner lot, you can face either side, so.
Just need-
Can we address that with a notation in the plat, or?
Well, that's what they are showing that on the plat. They're showing front and side on those corner lots. You know, that's gonna have to be something that's tracked through every plat and through every building permit and everything, to be sure that it actually gets built that way, I guess, so. That was why I raised the concern.
What do you recommend for them to fix it?
Well, I mean, I guess ultimately 35 feet on both sides would be my recommendation, but I mean, I think if you can argue, I guess, because it wasn't spelled out in the PRD, like if they want to do it the way they're showing it. I mean, I think that would be my main recommendation, just so it's clear to everybody. Every building inspector that goes out there knows when it's 35 feet no matter what in Bankside, not 35 feet on corner lots. They got to make sure. And that's
One of the things
thing.
we talked about is trying to get this part of planning consistent.
Right.
And I'd be a little concerned if we do one here and then the next one we don't. It's awfully confusing and it's not consistent, so. If it's 4 lots, did I hear you say 4 lots?
No, it's more than 4
Corners, or all the corners?
No, there's 73 total lots. There's what, 1, 2, 3,
I mean, is that what we're talking about, all the corners?
about 9 lots, I think.
Yeah, it's a little hard to keep up with.
9 or 10 maybe. Out of the 73 that are corner lots. As far as our other comments, they had a couple of the lots that didn't have numbers on them. We asked them to label those. We asked them to include, they have the acreage calculation for the area that is in open space. I couldn't find one of them. I asked them to show how much of that open space is usable, just so we can track it with the approved PRD as how much is required, and I need to add that. Utilities Department did ask for a master plan for utilities for the entire development. And then we did make a recommendation that, if you look on third, maybe the 4th page. Yeah, the 4th page of what's in front of you does show, their construction exit for this section. They are going to use, Kedron Church Road. And which will eventually be used as the base for the eventual public street that would be extended through that development when they do that section. But and it's our recommendation that we do need to look at, of course, this is ultimately a decision that somebody else has to make, not me, but we do need to look at closing, our opinion, the creek crossing there with this, because you're going to start having construction traffic and all coming on to Kedron Church Road. Eventually houses getting built and people figure out they can go out that way, then you may have people, residents in that area coming out that way too, so. I do think we need to look at that with the development of this section of this subdivision.
So this section goes all the way to Kedron Road?
The section does not, their construction exit Well, they won't build their construction exit from Kettering Church Road, so they're not coming through the existing development. So, but no, this will not be, there won't be any houses or anything built, it's just gonna be their construction exit.
Did we annex that road?
We annexed the road, yes, sir.
So what's your recommendation concerning the road?
I think we need to look at, as this section begins development, I think we need to kind of make plans on closing that off. And I know we were gonna try to work with the church and other folks in that area, and I think we kind of need to get that ball rolling. And that's just our recommendation, just, if we're gonna add additional traffic to this road from this subdivision, both construction traffic, and again, people will figure out that live in that area that they, I mean, another way in and out. Potentially, you could have other traffic in that area too, and I just think, I don't want to put more traffic on that road when you have it flooded, so. And since we do own it now, since it has been annexed, well, I guess it's probably not effective yet, it's probably a few more days still, it's past its 30 days, but,
So if we approve with staff comments, are we recommending we close the road?
I don't think you're as a plan, if you approve it with staff comments, you're approving a comment that staff is recommending that we close the road, yeah. I don't know that you're, as a planning commission, unless you wanted to reword the comment, you wouldn't be necessarily making that
Who makes
recommendation.
the final decision, council?
That would be what I would think, or,
Public Works, we would close it off.
I mean, I think if a street, if a street is flooded, the city can close it any time we need to, if the street's flooded. So, I mean, we could close it, but we're talking about more of a permanent closure, not a,
I think we ought to close it and give it to the church if they want it, is what I think.
Yeah.
As far as from that part on down,
yeah.
that being their choice as much as,
Right, and we said when we talked about it, we were gonna work with the church and work through that process, so I just think we need to do that. That's just a recommendation I made. If you don't feel comfortable adding that into your approval, that's fine, you can take that off. I mean, that's just something
it's
I
not
want to
that
talk
I'm
about.
uncomfortable with it, I just want to know for sure exactly
Right.
what we're saying.
Sure.
Other questions or comments that y'all have on it?
Again, on the setbacks for the properties that are on the corner, are they going to be consistent with 35?
There would be 35 on one side, but only 20 on the other is what they are asking for with this drawing. And, that was my thought and my discussion, that we were discussing 35 kind of across the board, so.
So Kevin, what I think I hear you saying is if we don't make 35 setback on both sides, it's going to be virtually impossible to monitor that the garage is on the side with the 35 feet.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be impossible, but
But
it is something else through the building permitting process, we would have, the inspector goes out and you have a footing poured or about to be poured, and,
It's a lot of opportunities for that not to happen.
there's opportunities for mistakes to get made,
Yeah.
sure.
Was not the intent of the 35 feet, I think there was, I don't know, inference is the right word, or contemplation, or what, that it was going to be a front-loading garage, that you could potentially have 2 cars in the garage and 4 cars in the driveway, so that we didn't have to worry about on-street parking.
Right.
And we eliminated the requirement for the developer to create either remote parking and/or wider streets to
Wider
accommodate
streets.
on-street parking.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out with what you're saying is, and I think I hear you saying that that hasn't been met in the spirit of what's been,
I think it's been
Proposed
partially,
here?
I think it's been partially met. I mean, it's been met on every lot that's not a corner lot, certainly. And it's been met on the corner lots in one sense, but I think there's, if you have two different setbacks, that are both basically fronts, because you got two road frontages, I think there's potential, it's something that both the builder and the city are gonna have to track to be sure that the garages get put in the right direction. And then if one gets built facing that side, it's 20 feet off the road,
that it's defeated the whole
it's
purpose.
defeated the whole purpose, and you're looking at, well, you gotta tear down a house.
And maybe that was a better way to put it, is that
Yeah.
it was,
Well, let me ask you
road
this.
frontage.
Once you see that that's happened, how do they get a CO?
Well, they don't. I mean, it's, we wouldn't give a CO, but I don't want to get into a situation where somebody's built a house or made substantial progress toward building a house and oops, you messed up.
Understand?
And I don't want to have a building inspector to get caught in the middle of that either, so.
Yes, sir.
I guess I would like to address that a little bit. If you look, for example, lot 764, all these houses are front-loading garages, and, in the PUD document, it says that we're gonna be 35 feet front setback where the house faces the street. And the intention was to have the side yards different. What we wouldn't want on 764 is have a side yard on Bankside so that house would stick out further towards the road. We wouldn't want that at all. And, the Butlers are going to develop these lots, build them themselves, and not selling them to someone else. They know which ones would have to front, different areas. If you look at lot 729 and 30, for example, the side yards are next to Tapestry, not on Bankside. So we wouldn't want to be able to look down the road and see houses jutting out past the others. But that was our intent all along, and maybe we didn't convey it right, but the intent all along was to have, because what we originally asked for 20-foot fronts. We went to 35 with the house facing the street so that we could have the cars. But that was sort of our intent all along, and maybe that just didn't get conveyed, I'm not sure, Kevin, but what we don't want is along Bankside, we wouldn't want any side yards so that, and I don't know how hard it would be for staff. You've got 27 lots that have to meet FEMA that you're tracking already for elevation certificates. I mean, it's just a part of the building permit, and that's more work for the ladies up in there, but they would just have to check the front or side setback, and the Butlers are willing to, they know which ones would be fronts and sides, and that was our intent. I think we could make it work either way, to tell you the truth, but our intent all along was to have the front facing the street where the garage would be 35 and 25 on the side yards. Like 748, for example, has an open space sitting area kind of thing, so its side yard wouldn't have to meet this, just 7.5. But
In essence, you're just trying to widen the building a little bit, right?
yeah,
But that said, I mean, everything that's not on a corner is a plan that's going to work anyway.
right,
Right, so
yeah.
probably doesn't make a big difference to you if it's 35 or 20 coming off the corner. I wouldn't think.
We can
unless
make it
you-
work either way.
Right.
It just gives you a little opportunity on those corner lots to build a bigger house.
Right. Well, I kind of see your intent there, but, and here's why I said what I said earlier. The consistency part for us, we're just kind of venturing into this body of change. I mean, we've met as a planning commission and council and come up with some of these ideas on how to get some of the parking issues and things that we had going on corrected. And now we've taken the off-site parking and pretty much eliminated it, the parking pods,
Right.
that kind of thing. But from a consistency perspective, I think for me, it's just important that we don't take each PRD and massage it differently, because then we're going right back to where we were.
Well,
So,
every single lot can meet the reg,
right.
is designed to meet the regs.
I mean, the idea was, like I say, just to get some larger lots, larger building envelopes on the corner.
And you've got some back there in the cul-de-sac area too.
We do. You mean larger lots? Or-
Right.
I mean, we don't want that to be a sticking point. We can agree to 35 feet. It just give you a little larger house is what it would do. On some corner lots, give you a little, just a little breakup in the mixture of floor plans along to the subdivision. But, our intent in the PUD, it does say 35 feet front setback where the house is facing the street. And maybe we should say garage instead of front of the house, but all the floor plans we submitted in the PUD are front-loading garages. So I think we meet the intent of the PUD here, but we don't want to.
Yeah, I think you do.
We don't want to, that's sort of our comments. As far as the lot table, I misunderstood that, Kevin, but I see it now. Lots 701 and 702 are not labeled. Not an issue, and then, not an issue for that. And then the sewer, we show that on the one master plan going all the way down the creek, all the way to Cadron Church. So we've shown that sewer extension, the water is CUD. And the reason we're doing section 7 now instead of 4 and 6, Mr. Butler owns property to the south of this, sections 4 and 6. We're doing 7 to get to Cadron faster, We'll do section 7 and 8 before 4 and 6 so that we can get that secondary access that he has bonded today. That's the reason he's bought these properties over to Kedron Road to accommodate that, so. I guess that's really my only, number 1 is the only one I think is still, the question in my mind, do we want a little larger lot for the corner, or do we want to just make it 35 on both sides? So I think it's really the only question I would have right now.
I think based off what Kevin said, I kind of agree with, and that's just the consistency, not having to keep up with it at each individual PRD.
And that's to have 35 on both sides? We'll agree to that. I mean, we don't want to let that stop what we're doing, but, I think we meet the intent of a PUD just to get a little larger house, but we can accommodate 35 on both sides.
Other comments, questions?
Kevin, where Kedron Church Road ties into, I guess it's Rocky Fork Apple Road. From that point down to the other Rocky Fork, which would lead you back in across the creek, is that all county?
If we annexed it, it's us.
Well,
I don't
yeah, we
think-
annexed Kedron Church Road.
Correct. To Rocky Fork Amble Road.
Right.
Okay, from Rocky Fork Ambleville going towards Nolensville to get back onto Rocky Fork to come into town, is that county or is that city? And/or from the creek where,
Did
may
we
be
annex
closed.
all the road or part of it?
Yes.
Is your question.
We annexed all of Kedron Church Road.
but not Rocky Fork Amble going towards
Rocky
Nolensville?
Fork, Allenville, there's parts of it it's in and parts of it's out. And different parts of it coming all the way from Morton Lane. up,
To this
Yeah, up to that area.
connection,
I think once you go past
Kedron Church.
Kedron Church and all that, I don't think any of that on that side is in this.
And then
in
from the
city.
creek, where the creek is now to, back to Rocky Fork Amble, that triangle, or
Is not in the city.
is not in city, it's county.
Right.
Okay. So once this road's put in, there will be a lot of traffic coming out that back area and using Kedron Church and possibly making a loop.
That's gonna be a pretty major entrance into Bankside subdivision as well as the church and the others that live on that road currently.
Keep people coming out Morton, and jamming up on Amble Road. They're gonna find a way out.
Right.
And the
I mean, if you
road traffic's gonna increase a lot.
If you live on this end of Bankside and you work in Knowles or Brentwood, that's how you're gonna come,
Or getting back into town, missing school traffic in the mornings.
Right.
They'll make this loop to come back in there. So you are will add quite a bit of traffic on Rocky Fork coming back into town.
Other questions and comments? Do we have a motion?
approved with staff comments, which include the 35-foot consistent setbacks on road frontage, and also the closing of Kedron Church. And I do want to, maybe not, I'm not sure it's proper here, but make sure that we're working with the church as we close that.
That includes the side setback. on
Correct.
Corner properties,
That's what I was
35
saying,
foot. Okay.
road
yeah.
frontage.
Well, both.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business, under D, site plans, Dollar General.
This is a proposed site plan for a new Dollar General store, which consists on approximately 1.19 acres located at 696 Legacy Drive, which is at the corner of Lee Victory Parkway and Legacy Drive. Property is currently zoned C2, and the proposed use is for general retail trade, which is allowed by right in this district. Property is bound to the north and east by Legacy Drive, to the south by Lee Victory Parkway, and to the west by a vacant tract of land. Surrounding zoning consists of C2 and R6 across Legacy Drive. As proposed, the site may be accessed from Legacy Drive as well. Square footage of vehicular use area, 22,100 square feet, which would require 2,210 square feet of open space landscaping. Applicant is proposing for 5,000 square feet. Total parking required, 43 spaces. They are proposing for 43 as well, with 2 handicap spaces that are required. Landscape plan submitted by the applicant shows a variety of street trees and shrubs which are to be planted around the perimeter of the lot along all the street frontages. Architectural elevations have been submitted by the applicant, and they show a brick as primary material with a base of split-faced block, which is not allowed by the design review manual. This future land use plan identifies proposed site as suitable for commercial development. Handful of standard comments with some staff comments. Staff comment 1 regarding the site data table for landscaping has been addressed. Staff comment 2 goes back to the split face block. Elevations were submitted, but that split face block is not allowed per the design review manual, so we'd like the applicant to address that comment. Staff comment 3 regarding the street trees have been addressed, along with comment 4 about the moving the trees out of the drainage easement that has been addressed. Staff comment 5 regarding the HVAC unit location and show screening. The applicant did state that the location of the HVAC unit would be on the roof. Staff would like to see that the unit is screened appropriately. With that, staff would recommend approval with the comments.
Essentially, you're recommending approval subject to the meeting all of the design review. And what you see does it. Okay, other questions?
To screen that HVAC up there, the parapet, what's the?
Parapet wall would be
Yeah, but
okay.
what kind
They
of
do
material
have-
would that, it'd have to meet design review as well,
Yes.
right? Okay.
And there is a portion of the building that have a little bit higher wall, but it's probably not tall enough to, I don't think the entire building has a parapet wall around it, so it's difficult to see for sure, but,
We've consistently required that.
Yeah.
For rooftop
Right.
HVAC units.
And it will need to be screened from Lee Victory as well as from the other roads, I would assume.
you basically almost 4 sides.
This is far enough away from the units on the other side of Legacy there that there's really no lighting concerns or anything like that for them, is there?
No. I mean, of course, it's directly across the street from a gas station, so
Yeah, they got a lot of lights.
got a lot of lights, yeah.
What's our elevation from Lee Victory? Are we looking at the back of the building?
Yes, yeah, if you look at, on the drawing, which you have in front of you, or what's on the screen, it's kind of have you have a kind of a angled door, but that is the front of the building, kind of faces the kind of the corner of Legacy, where it makes the turn. So the back, is essentially that on that drawing would be what the one that's on the bottom.
Do we have a way to address that, which is a good question?
The consistency
With
gas is-
additional landscaping?
And they do have a row, excuse me, a row of trees in that area. There is some of their detention is in that area as well. Certainly, we could look at, I mean, adding some shrubbery or something like that, kind of along with those street trees. You do have, they got some underground pipe and all they'd have to avoid, but I mean, you got the parking lot on either end and then the building, so I mean, certainly adding some, maybe some landscaping at the base of the building or something like that. If that's kind of what you're getting at, something like that.
There's no rear access around the building, or there is?
There's not.
I know the dumpsters are screened, but they're on the front corner of Legacy, right?
They are. And the other option would be on Lee Victory, so I don't know which would be better.
It's exposed on all four sides, so.
Right.
So as we're driving down Lee Victory, we're gonna be looking at that bottom elevation, is that correct?
Yes. The second, if you're looking at the hard copy, it would be the top, not the very top, but the kind of the top of the, we have the three together. That's basically the front and then one end and then the back. The building on the hard copy, the very one on top would be basically facing the gas station. And then the second one is facing Legacy, but the one on the bottom is what will be facing Lee Victory Parkway.
Well, we have different levels of screening that we have looked at and defined. Is there something that would work
Well, yeah, we
better
looked at,
here, you think?
and we looked at buffer strips and all. There's really no buffer strip here. I mean, it's a commercial property, abutting a road, so there's not like a buffer strip or anything required here. I think they're showing the trees, the street trees. Typically, we do require anytime a parking lot abuts the street, in addition to the trees, we have the shrub requirements, which they have shown on both of the Legacy frontages. Again, there's not really a parking lot on that side, but certainly looking at additional shrubbery on that side or some landscaping at the base of the building or something to kind of break that up between the road and the road in the back of the building. Again, there's no, it's not like, it won't be as bad as if it's like the service entrance or anything is not gonna be on the back or anything like that, so you won't be looking at that. It's really more on the front of the building, really, on the Legacy Drive side.
Well, as that comment, as far as addressing the design review, which I assume we'll approve it subject to that comment, then y'all can approve it. We could add additional landscaping subject to staff approval for
On
the
the-
rear.
On the rear of the building, but next to Lee Victory Parkway, sure.
I think we need it.
Will that be okay, Andy? Do we add that? And we let the staff review that?
Is there something that's forcing the building to face the back, the rear to face Lee Victory? I just don't understand that.
Well, it's either gonna face Lee Victory, the back, or it's gonna be up on the other property line and face all the residential and the other properties on the other side of the road. And
We've seen this happen over at the Commons too, where you got three roadsides. It's challenging, you have to decide where you're gonna face the building. Probably, I'm assuming from Dollar General's perspective, they'd much rather have it facing the artery that feeds them. There's nothing coming in here, there's no cut coming in.
what's across the road? What's
So
across
you've got-
Legacy?
Church.
Directly across Legacy on the north side there's townhomes. Across Legacy to the east is the gas station. Across Lee Victory is, there's two churches over there.
Yeah, but across Legacy,
To the east is the gas station, to the north is the townhouses.
I think I'd rather it back up to Lee Victory than show the rear to the townhouse. Personal.
But then you're bringing, because then you're bringing all your business in off of Legacy, and then having to come from the back of the building to park around front. If you do it that way.
But you see that sometimes when we have along Sam Ridley or whatever, you come down Jeannie Lane, you pull around to the front of the building. I mean, it can be done.
I can
but
see it both ways. but
It's
you're
just,
not gonna
it
get a
can
cut
work
here.
both ways. I agree, if you live in those townhouses, you'd probably rather look at the front of the building than the back, but, so I can see it, both sides really, as far as that goes.
Well, with the gas station sitting there and it's facing Legacy Drive, and then behind it is the Wine and Spirit store, which also faces Legacy Drive. Then we've got the Dollar General that's doesn't flow.
It's facing Legacy Drive.
It's facing, he's saying it's facing, well, I mean, it's facing Legacy, the same road, because the road curves, makes a 90-degree
Okay.
curve there, yeah. So it's facing the same street, but it's
Yeah, the
a
road
different
turns.
direction.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess,
I think the difference too, of the wine and spirit store, doesn't it sit down?
Yes.
Doesn't the
It
road,
does.
road's up higher, this
Yeah.
is gonna be exposed. So you're definitely gonna see it, but you see the side of the wine and spirit store there as well. You just don't see it because it's kind of below the road.
But you also see the side of the convenience store as well.
Okay, what's the wishing of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comments and adding the additional landscaping that's needed as staff sees appropriate.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have any other comments? Question? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
nay.
Motion carried. Site plan, racetrack, staff comments.
This is a proposed site plan for a racetrack, which would sit on approximately 4.24 acres located in the northeastern quadrant of Sam Ridley Parkway and Old Nashville Highway intersection. Property is currently zoned C2, and the proposed use is for a convenience commercial, which is allowed by right in the C2 zoning district. Property is bounded to the north and east by vacant tracts of land, to the south by Sam Ridley Parkway, and to the west by Old Nashville Highway. Surrounding zoning consists of C2. As proposed, the site may be accessed from a proposed extension of Jeannie Lane, as well as a right-in only from Old Nashville Highway. Square footage of vehicular use area, 40,658 square feet, which would require 3,065 square feet of open space or landscaping. Applicant is proposing for 4,100 square feet. Total parking required of 54 spaces. Applicant is proposing for 54 spaces, with the required 2 handicap parking spaces being met. Landscape plan submitted by the applicant shows a variety of street trees and shrubs which are to be planted around the perimeter of the parking lot and trees in the landscaped islands. Architectural elevations show primary material to be used of brick and ephes as a secondary material on the building. Feature land use plan identifies proposed site as suitable for office, retail, multifamily, residential development. Couple standard comments. One regarding the plat creating this lot is required to be recorded prior to issuance of this building permit. A couple staff comments have been addressed. Staff comment 1 regarding the site data table and parking spaces has been addressed. Staff comment 2 regarding the parking spaces shown at 9 by 19 minimum. Parking spaces on the east side of the property, just to be a little bit more specific about which ones are not being met. East side of the property parking spaces scale to approximately 18 foot in length. If the curb allows for the vehicle to encroach closer to the curb, it is acceptable per staff. If not, we ask that the parking spaces be adjusted to meet the 19-foot length requirement. Staff comment 3 regarding the driveway connection on the east side of the property on Genie Lane on the plans, the northern part that connects to Genie. Staff would like that to be as far east on the property as possible. And staff comment 4 regarding the radius for the right-in only off Old Nashville Highway has been addressed by the applicant. With those comments, staff would recommend approval of this project.
And want to just point out, I do want to point out one of the standard comments. Mitch mentioned one, there's one other one regarding the roads and utilities here are not installed yet. I think everyone's aware of that, just want to point that out. So really any development on this site by Racetrack is really depending on the road and water and sewer being extended to this lot at minimum. So, and I think, of course, Racetrack's aware of that as well. I just want to point that out so that everyone's clear.
Is all of it gonna be by city?
No, this be the developer of this. Stone Trace is the name of the development. The Walden family is developing it. I believe they've got all their construction plans approved, I believe now, or getting close. So they should be starting construction soon, I'm sure, but.
How has that right turn off of Old Nashville Highway changed? Because it looks like a pretty hard right into there as what we have in front of us.
As far as how has it changed from, I don't know.
Did Mitch, did you say?
I know Charles had looked at that, and so I would kind of defer to him on that part of it, but.
We asked their traffic engineer to make sure what we're looking for here is we want to make it wide enough to get tankers coming in because they will be coming in from I-24 down Sam Ridley, turning left onto Old Nashville and coming into the Racetrack development. We want to have it wide enough for them to come in, but we want to also discourage anyone trying to make a left out of their back on to Old Nashville. So we're fighting two different kind of scenarios. We want it wide enough for the truck and fire vehicles to enter the site, but also to discourage that. And I think the traffic engineer, she has addressed that to our satisfaction.
So you're comfortable with
Yes.
the changes?
Yes.
And then we talked about the entrance from Genie. I mean, on surface, that looks really close there. And I'm concerned about stacking back into Old Nashville at that point, or, you know, from Genie, so.
That's our concern also, that you only have like 80 feet from Old Nashville up to that entrance, so you're looking at only 4 vehicles stacking in there. That is a concern. We would like it to move all the way over to the east. Their developer said that they've looked at it. Their problem is moving that. That's something we'd like to work with them a little more possibly, or see what we could do, but that is a concern for us.
What if that was a right-in only and then the exit was on the other side of the building?
That could That would be okay. If, it's just our left turn movement out of the site is our concern. Is that it'll queue up at Old Nashville and traffic will not be able to make that left turn back onto Genie to get to Old Nashville Highway.
And understand your concern certainly on that the left's coming out is the problem. Do you have any issues with an option? If we're looking at maybe approving it with an option, that being a right-in and the other, on the other side?
No, I mean, if staff can, as it is right now, you know, you're asking me would I favor approval? No, but if staff can work together with the developer to do something as you suggested, or some other
Either
type
move
of.
it to the other side, as
Yes.
they talk about here, or possibly a right-in with the exit on the other
Yes.
side.
Yes, sir. We could work with them, yes, sir, on that.
That lets folks coming from Old Nashville Highway get in as quickly as possible and out of the way, and then we address the left with more stacking by coming at the other side as an option.
Yes, sir. The traffic and development, they are here if you would like to address that question more directly to them.
If they have something they'd like to say, we'll entertain that. Please give your name and address, please, sir.
Hey, I'm Alan Bell with Racetrack, 200 Galleria Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30339. Appreciate your time this afternoon and working with staff on this application. We did, try to move that driveway as far east as we possibly could. It's not apparent on this plan, but with the overall build out, I understand the concern with the stacking. But with the traffic study that we saw, I mean, the queuing is in the peak hour and we're a 24-hour operation, and all the other times, I don't think it will be an issue. And then furthermore, we can go down Genie Lane and out Needham if you're wanting to get back out on Sam Ridley. So there are other ways out than using that. I think that driveway will self-regulate when it's, peak hours of traffic. As we move that driveway further, the site lends itself better to having the patio visible from Old Nashville, and that way we can furthermore screen our dumpster and not have dead-end parking on that side. And, by limiting that to the left-out movement, you're just kind of reducing the outbound movement. So I do think it'll self-regulate. There's other ways to get out. Got our engineer, Kelly, with CESO. I don't know if she wants to add anything. Yeah, the other good part is, yes, there's a stub out at the bottom, just to the east of our tanks for a frontage road. So when this thing builds out, there'll be yet another access point through there.
Where? Show me what you're talking about.
It's on the southeast corner.
Right here. It'll connect across so that we can get to Needham as well. So there'll be other ways out.
That'll go up to Motlow.
No, Genie Lane will eventually connect to Motlow once this property and the adjoining property develop. What he's talking about is, I don't think we have the Stone Trace plan. There's 3 or maybe 4 lots between Old Nashville Highway over to Needham Drive, which will be extended across. It currently dead ends at Sam Ridley. It'll go across and be access to this property as well. And that would be an access just over to Needham Drive.
And as you get further east, Genie Lane goes uphill, and we're kind of tied to the grades at the front where the drainage conveyance ditch is, and so we trying to keep comfortable slopes throughout the property. But if you move further to the other east of the property, the road goes up another 3 or 4 feet, which makes circulation a little bit more difficult.
So, Kevin, maybe I missed it, but where he's talking about that road that's going up to Needham, is that going to be kind of a little access road that runs parallel to Sam Ridley?
Yes.
On all those 4 lots?
Yeah, it would be basically like a parking lot connection.
Right.
Is
As
it a
those
parking
other
lot
pro-
connection or an actual access?
Well, I mean, it'll be cross-access, but it won't be a road or anything like that. It'll be,
The parking lots will be connected.
the parking lots will be connected, and so you'll be able to drive across.
It helps. It helps. It helps.
Of course, Genie Lane obviously is a public street which will connect as well, but
And Genie Lane will connect to Needham just off the plan view there to get back to Sam Ridley.
So somebody.
And there's a proposed, light at the intersection there, as part of the overall plan.
Yeah, there will be a signal at Genie and Old Nashville Highway, yes.
It's not going to be a big difference from the intersection then, is it? From Genie to there?
Oh, as far as the Genie and Old Nashville Highway
Yeah.
versus Sam Ridley to Old Nashville Highway, yeah.
I'm
it's-
sorry, Sam Ridley Road.
Yeah, it's going to be those are all going to have to be, I mean, I know Tom has been working very closely with everyone on this to make sure all those signals are timed correctly and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I
certainly,
mean,
so.
to me, we're kind of setting, and I think we need a traffic control there. My concern is we get back to a Cedar Grove and an industrial type situation. I realize the traffic flow may be not as much, but I'm concerned about even more stacking.
It backs up past Lowe's now.
I mean, Chris,
Several
I
times
mean,
during the day.
we're talking about pretty major improvements to Old Nashville Highway as well as part of this. So, I mean, that's all part of this whole overall development.
What is the time frame for a light to go in at Genie?
That's part of the Stone Trace development. They'll be putting that in.
Will it go in same time this is gonna be built? And/or the road improvement out there? I mean, there's a lot going on in this.
I think one of the conditions is
Area.
actually for that all be in place before we start construction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all. And then, I mean, the cities, of course, we're working with the developer too, and there's some things they're gonna be doing. There's some things the city's gonna be doing because we've got a
Right.
project with some intersection
Would
improvements.
Genie be connected all the way to Needham?
Their plat goes all the way to Needham, yes,
Yes.
the approved plat. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's all part of the first phase of their development, yes. And
I
actually,
was thinking it was, but
Yeah.
I was.
I know, I just know from being out in that area a lot, there's 3 times during, of course, morning, midday, lunch, and afternoon where they stack up past Lowe's, and people coming out of Genie trying to turn right, they stack up there a lot. And then coming across the lanes of traffic, trying to get back out of here, turning left without a light there, it would be just almost impossible. You would have to turn right, go up, turn around, and get back on
yeah, I
Nashville
mean,
Highway,
it's,
which could create some
What-
problems.
Explain to us the improvements that we're looking at
I
at
mean,
the
essen-
interchange and on the Old
Yeah.
Nashville Highway that involves all of this project.
yeah, I mean, the entire project, I mean, we're looking, basically Old Nashville Highway, being widened from the intersection, up to, I think at minimum, we're going to the
Lowe's entrance.
the Lowe's entrance with essentially a 5-lane cross-section at the intersection itself with Sam Ridley Parkway. And Tom, Charles, might get better. I think there's gonna be a double left, I believe, at from Old Nashville on
I
to.
think we're waiting on this traffic study.
Well, like I said, they've just finished that traffic study in October. They have proposed putting in that additional through lane from Old Nashville over across Sam Ridley.
So you have 2 lanes going across.
Yes, sir, 2 through lanes, and then coming off Sam Ridley onto Old Nashville, adding a double left there. So that is something that our traffic study for the widening project at the intersection is currently looking at. And this road, like I say, Genie Lane will also go past Needham, and it will also go on into the next development across Harts Branch and come out at the Raven development. So there will be a traffic signal on Sam Ridley at that point that we're looking at. But I'm not sure what the timeline is on that development being up there and that access road being in place.
Charles, what's an acceptable distance from that entrance off of Genie, in your estimation?
It's sort of with the timing, it just depends, like I said, it's like, Mr. Allen was saying, getting that stacking in there and moving. It's hard for me to say what an acceptable was, just like to get as much as possible. I mean, that's just one thing. Can't really say how many would like, but that's something that, depending on the signalization which it all encompass from the Sam Ridley, Old Nashville Highway, and in Rock Springs, all that's been looked at, one package.
Will the signalization help the left turns out of there?
Yes, that way the traffic will move.
And-
So
and
once
the-
you do get that left turn on Old Nashville, it will move that queue on out and people could move in.
Will that be connected with the ITS?
It will all be connected, yes.
That light there?
Yes.
Okay.
So now there's one straight, one turn. There's going to be two straights, two turns, and a right turn.
On to Sam Ridley, yes.
Yes.
Between this lot, you're talking about the interconnecting parking lots over to Needham. How many lots from lot 1 to Needham? Is it 2 or 3?
I think it's 3.
There's a TVA easement or something.
I'll
There
say
is.
directly next to us is the TVA
Easement.
infrastructure and the easement, so I'm not sure exactly how many lots are gonna be, but there's not a lot that'll fit between us, and I think there's a switch tower that, is right there.
Also, is there a drainage easement there as well?
There is some drainage in that area, yeah. I mean, it may only be 2, it's at most 3, yeah. Then you have, of course, on the east side of Needham, you got some more lots. And then you got, on the north side of Jeannie Lane, you'll have lots.
Kevin, do you know if their proposed development from here back towards Laverne, up the hill, so to speak, will they have another exit point up there towards?
I think they are looking at another exit point on the Old Nashville Highway
This
on
one
the
is
north
labeled
side.
At the, kind of the end of the property?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the
That one is
that's the
labeled
R6.
on
That's the
area.
R6 portion, which, at this time, we've seen no development concepts or anything on that yet. Yeah, the cemetery
There's
kind of
nobody else
separates the
there but
commercial and the
them.
multifamily there.
I don't have an issue with the right end, it's the getting out. Basically, you got 2 ways in and 1 way out.
And during the peak hour, it may be safer as a passenger vehicle to make another alternative other than that left turn. But by the interconnectivity to Needham and having the right turn through Jeannie all the way to Needham, we feel there's options for someone to make a safe exit when it is at peak hours.
So are you suggesting they would turn right on Jeannie, go to Needham, and then back to Old Nashville? Is that what
They
you're
would have that
suggesting?
option, or if, as the developed lots into the next of us develop, they could connect into theirs, their driveway, and get downstream further beyond the lot that we don't have available to us to make a connection further down to the,
Correct, I think most of our traffic will be heading back to Sam Ridley as opposed to north on Old Nashville. So they could go right on Jeannie and then down on Needham, or back through our site, traffic that's actually on our site, just going back on the frontage road to Needham.
And currently, what Holson still has on there, when you come down Jeannie, you hit Needham and you come back to Sam Ridley, that's going to be a right out only. You will not be able to turn left back towards the airport, because they're putting in a J intersection on Sam Ridley to do away with that median. So it only has, and coming out of the Toot side and that apartment complex there, it's going to be a right only onto Sam Ridley at this time, is what looking at.
With the light.
That will not be a light there, the
No,
light will
that's-
be,
That's the intent of it, pushing everything to a light.
Yeah. 'cause
yes,
you-
but it will not be a light on Sam Ridley
Right,
at
I understand.
Needham.
Yeah.
The light
You're-
that
You're making
proposing.
drivers think,
Yes,
right, to go to the light.
right.
Can you make a left from Sam Ridley onto Needham to get into Toots?
Yes, sir. That will be the J intersection type development, so that's what we have to do away with. So it'll be a left off Sam Ridley, left into Needham to the Toots area, or a left onto Needham into the Stone Trace development.
And I'd say, our business survives on convenience, so primary portion of our traffic is gonna be heading, on Sam Ridley where they can come, turn right in, circulate back out and continue to the west.
Questions?
So remind me again of the timeframe. With regard to the improvements on Old Nashville Highway, is that coming first? So
Yeah.
you're really
It's kind of
kind
all
of,
happening at the same
Yeah.
time, more than.
The improvements and the Genie Lane extension, the utilities that aren't there yet, all that has to happen before racetrack can even break ground really and get going. I mean, it's,
And part of the, Sam Ridley removes that sweeping right goes up to the light and makes a harder right, which actually gives you more room pulling in, I think, as far as the right end.
By the time this would open, all the road improvements and probably the light's gonna be up. Which
Sure.
you'll have a left out of there with a light.
Correct.
In a perfect world.
Correct.
As long as you don't have to order mast arms.
We have to order those now, right?
Well, with the light at Genie coming out there, if it doesn't give you any more time than the light at the Old National Highway and Rock Springs Road, won't anybody ever leave.
That's true.
You know exactly what I'm
You
talking
gotta take your
about.
best shot.
2 cars at a time.
The turn lane,
so
boys.
you step over.
Like 3 cars and it's done.
That's it.
Yeah. But I think once the new traffic system's in place for a time, it will regulate that a lot better.
yeah, and in addition to being tied to the ITS, I mean, the Genie Lane, Old Nashville signal and the Old Nashville Sam Ridley signal are gonna be, the
And
timing is gonna be,
And Rock Springs, because you don't want them
Right.
to stack back up to Sam Ridley.
but they're
So
gonna
they'll
be,
all be working together.
right, working together, absolutely.
Yeah.
In addition to being monitored through our ITS.
Which will continue to hopefully eliminate the problems that we're currently having.
Right.
Am I looking at the left turn lane from Genie onto Old Nashville? If you're exiting the business, there's approximately, I think Charles said about 80 feet there to Old Nashville. Do we know, I can't see it on here, and maybe it's just my eyesight. Do we know how that left turn lane, the distance of stacking space in that left turn lane?
I think it's like
We're-
80 feet.
We're outside of the stacking, we're in the transition zone.
It's 80 or 90 feet in that,
So if you're coming out of the business, you're getting into that left lane pretty, I mean, it's
or
right
having,
there.
or if you're wanting to go straight, you got, or turn right on Old Nashville Highway, you gotta cross it,
Right.
yeah. And if there's,
So if it stacks there,
you won't be able to get
you
out.
won't be able to get over to the
Right.
other lane.
To turn left, you wouldn't be able to get
Well, and
out.
so that, I think, and Tim brought this up a while ago, and it's kind of the concern I had when I looked at this initially, is there enough space for the amount of traffic we expect? ITS factored in with all of our signals and lighting. I mean, we all know, because we drive it just about every day, how horrendous that is. It hasn't been worked on, and it hasn't been improved. But we're growing so fast that whatever we do now may need fixing again. So we want to get it right. And I kind of agree with the concept of, if we can, if staff can work with you guys and your engineers to get that 80 feet distanced out a little bit further back, to where we've got a little more room. Now, I understand what you said about having an option, you know, turning right and going to a light, and I get that, but unfortunately, not every driver that I know uses the
Trust
common
me, I
sense
drive around
method.
Middle Tennessee
Yes,
plenty
and
of
they're gonna wanna get in a hurry and
interesting
get out to that old Nashville highway and get where they're going, so.
Do you have a problem with the right end and the left out on the other side, or just move the whole thing and work that out with staff?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
And then, because, you know, we hired a traffic guy, it's hard.
Yeah.
You hate
I trust
disagreeing
him.
with him on the first meeting anyway.
No, and that's why I asked the questions, and I appreciate you guys being willing. You mentioned something, that this is, your business is about convenience.
Right.
Well, so you do want to make it convenient for people leaving that parking lot, right? That's part of why your business will either prosper or suffer, is that
Correct.
people won't trade with you if they can't get in and out,
Right.
right? So,
And we're, just trying to protect the orientation, but, hopefully we can, work with staff, and maybe it's not completely flipping it, but maybe be able to pick up a few feet, maybe angling it over a little bit more, or just looking at those options. I think it's.
I'm going to trust what Ed said here, Chairman said about working with staff and making them comfortable. I think that'd be my goal.
Is that a motion?
It is a motion, with all staff comments, and that being part of the motion.
I'll second that.
Other questions, comments? Thank you all very much. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion with all the staff comments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. December bond review.
And we just have three tonight. One is the Ryan Smith Properties. This is just for a very small piece of sewer line that needs to be installed to serve one lot. This is one we've had a while. They did ask to get another one-year extension on that. And so I think we're okay with that. Lee Bowman subdivision, that is a water and sewer bond for some improvements that are part of the property along the new Potomac Place extension. Some of the work has been done, but it is not finished. They are still working on it right now, so they did request it to be extended, and we would recommend that. And then Mill Springs, this is kind of the end of their maintenance period. If they can get the items completed, which may be tough by December 21st, we'll be okay with releasing that. Otherwise, we would recommend a 6-month extension to allow them to finish that up in the spring. That's all that I got.
Have a motion.
Move to approve.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any other business?
Only other thing I would mention, two things actually. One, just our meeting for January is on the 2nd, so that is very quick, we understand, right after the holidays, but that is the first Thursday. And then, as again, we haven't been able to confirm yet with the event center. We are looking at a date in January to hold a public meeting regarding our new comp plan, so we will get that word to you once everything is confirmed, but I just wanted to let you know that is coming. That's all that I got.
And y'all be working on an update for us, especially by the February meeting on those items that we
Yes.
discussed. Anything else?
And you'll send us an email reminder about the 2nd, right?
Sure. And you probably will get your packet probably that weekend before Christmas. So,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Give you something to do
All
with
right,
the
I want to
holidays.
go on record is I did bring up the idea of moving it to the next week, but that didn't work out.
Duly
You did? I did. We stand adjourned. Thank y'all.